thank you for joining us for Mom Talk. Today we have a special guest, Judy Peterson. She is the owner of Coastal Bend Mamas, and she's a homeschooling mother of 2. Today we're going to be talking about choosing the right school for your kids. And Judy, can you tell us something about homeschooling?
Sure. Basically, I have homeschooled 2 children, a boy and a girl, from the time they were in kindergarten, and my son was 3 years old. He sat in on the classes because he was bored otherwise. And they are now 11 and 13 years old. And my opinion with homeschooling is you can make it whatever you want it. You can have anything from free-for-all, which a lot of homeschooling moms don't really care for, but because there's very little discipline in that. Or you can have it as structured as a private school. You can have your kids sitting in a little room with the curriculums that they have, and I have friends that do that as well. I have friends that do all sorts of different curriculums. Abeka is a very popular one. There's one that's called Bob Jones curriculum. When I first started out, I looked at it, and my husband was the one who encouraged me to do the homeschooling, because I was like, okay, well, yeah, I guess I could. And then he gave me the book, The Idiot's Guide to Homeschooling, believe it or not.
It was not your birthday or anniversary.
No, it was not my
right?
birthday or anniversary. And so I read that, and I was like, okay, it's kindergarten. How much can I screw up kindergarten, really? I mean, come on. So, we got through kindergarten, and I went, okay, well, first grade, they just have to learn how to read and add and stuff like that. And so every year it's been like, well, they're doing really well, and we have so many events and things like that we go to, and they have all kinds of friends that they love that are in the homeschool curriculum, that I just haven't said, there's any reason to put them anywhere else. I'm a stay-at-home mom and do my own business at home. They help me with my business. We do art projects. I've taught my daughter website design.
Awesome.
And my son is learning Chinese on the computer with his father.
Oh,
so,
cool.
it's just all kinds of really cool stuff. And there's really, you can go from anywhere from spending thousands and thousands of dollars on a curriculum with a video teacher and all kinds of stuff, to literally, my friend just sent me a free curriculum that's done by the the Chemistry Society of America. And it's a curriculum that's chemistry for junior high age kids. I'm like, okay, well, that's what we're going to do this summer, because my son was asking for chemistry. So,
awesome.
It's anything you want to do. There's a Montessori-based program that they have. There's, which I think she's going to talk about later on, little Montessori. And there's everything out there that you could want. And somebody mentioned to me earlier that they were worried that their kids were a little bit too crazy, that they couldn't handle it. It would be just too much stress on them. And what I was telling her was that with my children, I sit down with them for about half an hour in the mornings, and we go through history and we go through science, because they're 6th grade and 8th grade. And to be honest with you, there's not that much difference in history and science for 6th grade and 8th grade. It's just what you expect your kids to do.
Yeah.
And so we go through history and science first thing in the morning. And once they've had that one-on-one time with me, they don't get as crazy. They don't drive me insane by coming up to me asking questions all the time. They have their book work. They know they have to do this math page. They know they have to do this English page. We have a checklist that they just go down. And if they have questions, sure, come and ask me. But don't sit there, just jumping up and down on the bed going, I need your attention.
Yeah.
Which, and when they're little, they do that, whether you give them anything else or not. That's just being little. But it's funny, my son is a little bit ADD, and he has trouble focusing sometimes. And so there are times when we're doing, English or something like that, and he's upside down on the couch because he can.
Yeah.
And it doesn't bother me as long as he's getting the work done.
That's true.
And I've got some friends that there's something called kinesthetic learning, which is you have to be active while you're learning.
Mm-hmm.
And my son's a little bit like that too, but I have a good friend whose daughter is like that. And she literally teaches her times tables while she's jumping on a trampoline.
Oh, wow.
They recite the times tables out while she's jumping on a trampoline, because it gives that part of the child's brain something to do while she's learning something in another part of her brain. And it's interesting to learn the different ways that kids learn. My daughter's an audio learner, so she learns really well from books on tape and things like that. But there's all kinds of different things out there. There's all kinds of websites for homeschooling. There's all kinds of activities for homeschooling. There's a group in town called HOST, which is the Homeschoolers of South Texas. and I'm on the board for that. I do the website. But they have every year we have a Christmas play that they do. They do a prom that they have arranged. It's actually the end of this month. They have what's the other? Oh, we just started a football team. So we have a football team. So if you have a kid that you're having trouble with bullying or wherever, and you want to pull him out of school, but he wants to play sports. Sports is available in the homeschool group as well.
Wow,
So that's
that
really
is
cool.
awesome.
Yeah, so it's really amazing.
Like homeschooling's come a lot farther in the past,
Yeah.
10 to 15 years.
Exactly.
I remember in the past, it just seemed like if you had a homeschool child, they were kind of isolated. They didn't really develop the social skills. That was always my fear about homeschooling, was that they wouldn't get the social skills they kind of needed to be,
Yeah.
a normal, productive member of society.
Well, I have a story about that because I was, my daughter was, kindergarten when we first started out, and we were going around doing play groups and all kinds of stuff. We went to McDonald's one morning, and the kids there were just crazy. It was the big kids knocking the little kids down. They were they were just, it was crazy. And we went over to the homeschool, they had a park day that afternoon at a playground, and the big kids were pushing the little kids on the swing, helping them up the slide. And what we found is that when you're dealing with homeschool, you deal with a range of ages, anywhere from kindergarten through high school. And the high schoolers, they feel, connected to these little ones. They say, oh, we'll look out for you. And then the little ones don't have any problem going up and talking to other adults because they're used to talking to other adults. It's not a problem. You're not anywhere in the real world where you're sitting with 30 people the exact same age as you.
I've seen that at when the library has their free day once a month. I've been there before, and there's homeschooling groups there, and the big kids really do look out for the little ones.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's like family more.
Yeah, it's very family oriented. Some of our families are humongous that are in the group, and then there's some that just have one kid, and she was adopted, And so it's all kinds and all different age groups, and it's a lot of fun. We have a lot of stuff that is this host group that I was telling you about. It's all moms and dads that run it. There's no paid staff or anything like that. So whatever we want. One of the moms took on the prom. So she's doing the prom. She did it last year. She's doing it this year. She's also doing graduation, and her 2 kids are graduating next year. So we have to find somebody to replace her. But
That was the question I had as far as standardized testing. How does it affect, how they get into colleges?
okay, basically as a homeschool in Texas, this doesn't apply to other states, but in Texas, you basically declare yourself a private school. So technically, my school is a private school. And in Texas, there's no oversight from the government on private schools. Now, they may be accredited by another organization or someplace like that, but what we're finding is that most of the kids that are graduating nowadays, I don't know about in the past, but nowadays, the colleges are seeking those kids out that are homeschoolers, because those kids are generally very well-rounded, but but they also have, they're able to study on their own.
Yeah, so
They don't have to have the teacher being on top of them with the whip, because, and they do a lot of independent studies, they do a lot of different things. Del Mar allows dual credit in high school.
Yeah, I teach those courses actually.
Yeah, you can do that with homeschooling as well. And so some of our kids, they graduate high school and they end up with an associate's degree at the same time.
Oh, wow.
One of my good
great
friends' sons just graduated from Howard Payne, and he's got, I think he said he's got a full-ride scholarship to Colorado Law School or something like that. So he's big on debate and speech. There's a big speech and debate group in the homeschool organization as well, and it teaches them how to write and talk in public and how to really express themselves. And it's just a really good opportunity for everybody.
Well, you were saying that Montessori, the kids are very well-rounded also, right?
Yeah, I didn't want the traditional setting at all for the kids. I really wanted, I don't want them sitting in the desk staring at, staring at the books. I wasn't looking for that. And in Montessori, it's really more organic. It's more peaceful, the environment. It's all about respecting yourself, respecting others, and respecting the environment. They don't sit in seats. Like, they can sit wherever they want to sit. If they want to sit on the floor, on the couch upside down, they don't have a couch, but they can sit wherever they're comfortable, and they have to manage their own time. So they have like a schedule that they make, and the assignments that are due and when they're due, and they have to manage their own time. So say you're doing a math assignment, and one child needs 30 minutes to do it, and the other child's like, I don't want to work on that today. I mean, they make those decisions for themselves. They work completely at their own pace. They help each other a lot. My oldest daughter, in 7th grade, she was able to, when she finished her work, go down to the younger classes and read to them, help them with their work.
That's awesome.
It was not only good for the younger kids, but it was really encouraging for her.
Teaches her some nurturing and just caring for younger kids and stuff.
Yeah. They don't do standardized testing. They don't get grades. They don't get red slashes on their, it's all about encouraging them. It's all about how far they've gone, instead of, oh, you missed this, oh, you're behind, oh, you're failing. They can work completely and totally at their own pace. And that's what I really enjoy about Montessori.
How do they teach different?
They are really hands-on. They do the 5 senses. They learn through your 5 senses. Like if the teacher's sitting in school and you're looking at the book, you're looking at pictures, they're talking about 200 plus 200. And in Montessori, like, they can hold 400 beads in their hand. They're learning through physical touch. When they learn the alphabet, they're tracing sandpaper with their hand.
Oh, cool.
They're using bead boards. It's a completely different way of learning. They don't have the books. Their lunch is on a placemat with a cloth napkin. It's traditional. They all eat lunch together, and they have their peace table if there's arguments.
Oh, wow.
It's the whole environment's completely different than the traditional school.
Awesome.
Well, I've had the experience of having both private and public schools, and I definitely see with both sides the pros and cons to both sides. What I really liked about private school is with my son being extreme ADHD and other things going on, you really got the smaller class size. And so with his classes, there was only like 8, 9 kids in there. And so you didn't really have to worry about the teacher not having enough time. So if a kid needed a little bit more time or needed a little bit more help, it wasn't like she wasn't spread over here and over there and over there. So that really helped him. When he was behind a little bit, she could go over there, help him, work with him. And then also having a really close relationship working with me and with the teacher and Austin all together. And so, we would have weekly meetings on his progress, how is he doing, what he needs help with. If I'm having trouble with homework or when Avery's home or teaching him how to, work with his homework and stuff, she would have no issue with, helping me out. This is how we do it in class, so if you want to help him with this. So that relationship made it really tight. And so Austin knew, oh, well, mom's really involved, the teacher's really involved, and it just kind of made this evening kind of. So it was really nice that way. But they also didn't have the funding that you would get from the state for having kids with special needs. So that was kind of the downside, like the counselors and some of the testing that they do in public schools. So, but ultimately, if I did have, a choice and if it wasn't so expensive, I would probably stick him back into private school just for that. But the public schools, they have done a good job with what they've given. They do have bigger class sizes, but I think with the kids that have more classrooms with ADHD, I do believe that they try to do like a teacher's aide to help out and that type of stuff. And the public schools, we have a few meetings throughout the year that I meet with the principal, I meet with the teachers, and then also the counselors, so we can discuss his progress, and they put him up on an IEP and all that stuff. So in that sense, it has helped him out too. So I really like both of them. They, like I said, have both their pros and cons, but I really like the private school.
Private school.
Yeah, so.
Okay, but like, see, for me, I wanted to homeschool my kids for a while there, and then I got scared of like the stress and what it would be like. And then after talking to Becky, I was like, oh, Montessori sounds good. But then private schooling, you have the faith part where they learn, you know. So I'm just kind of, I don't know, I'm kind of pulled, I don't know what to do with my girls. So, I mean, but what worries me is like Desiree, my oldest, she's very hyper, and she almost like, I have really bad ADHD. And I think one of the private school, the Montessori, and the homeschooling would have been great for me because I really did not learn much in public school. And I'm sorry, but I just didn't.
No, I had the same experience.
Yeah, and you go to college and you feel completely like, you know, just, lost.
If you don't learn, like you said, like the typical like pencil and paper type of way, a lot of it is lost in you. And I don't feel like I learned in public school how to work independently.
Yeah.
And I got to college, and I mean, I made pretty decent grades in high school outside of math and science, but I got to college, and I was
Your
like,
grades were not ready.
I was like, somebody's not going to remind me to turn in my homework. Somebody's not going to make sure I go to class every day.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm supposed to go.
Yeah.
And you know, that's what's something
Or
that I
when
really.
the students in there are so much farther ahead of you that you're like, okay, I'm really lost. I have no clue. Like, especially history, I have no clue anything about history. So they would say something, and I'm like, what? You know what I mean? So it's kind of like, I don't know. I wish that I would have been either Montessori, because I think that would have the hands-on learning is more how I was, you know. And I'm worried that she might need the same thing because she's very hyperactive, and I'm seeing a lot of myself when I was little. When your parents tell you you're gonna have one, you're like, yeah.
It's the mother's curse.
Yeah. But, yeah, but the thing is, you know, your husband's mom tells him that, and then so you're gonna double dose.
Yeah, with one of each, like I got.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't know. What has been the best part about being a homeschooling mother to you? Like, is it stressful?
I love my children. I love to hang out with my children, and now that they're getting older, it's even cooler because they actually have a sense of humor, and they actually, you know, understand and come up to me and say the strangest things, but you know, they still, you can tell that they're learning and that they're appreciating it. And that was one thing that I really didn't like about the public school is that they almost like take the will to learn out of you. It just, you know, and then I got through high school, and you get to that second year or senior year, and you're like, I need to be out of here now. I don't ever want to see another book ever again. You know, and so I don't want my kids to get to that age and say, you know, I don't ever want to see another book. I'm just done.
Yeah.
But if you can keep them, instill in them a love of learning, which Montessori does as well, where they have that it's coming in from all different angles and all different, you know, places, that it's just a way to be closer to them in some ways. It's a way to know what they're learning. Last year, I put my kids into the public charter school that's online that you actually bring to your house. So you're kind of homeschooling, but it's really a public school, and it's computer based. And you pull your kids out and you're really scared to do something. It's actually a really good program because they're used to that sort of learning. The kids were not used to that sort of learning.
So it's public school, but at home?
It's a charter school, and it's online learning at your house. And so I put my kids in that last year after having homeschooled all these years because I thought, oh, I can have some extra time. Well, I spent like more time than I normally would spend homeschooling my children, yelling at my son to go do school. And I'm like, I don't need this kind of stress. But they do the testing. You have to go take the STAR test down at the ESC. And it was a good program. I really liked it. It's called K-12, and if you can look it up online. But it's a good place. But you only can start it after 3rd grade. You can order it before that, and it's not free. You can pay for it. Yeah. But when you get to 3rd grade, it can be free. And the only requirement is that you had to have had your kids in school for 6 weeks or something like that in public school. And so, like, if you're homeschooling all the way through, like I did, that was the last year that they were allowing to go into the K-12. Now, if I decided I wanted to put them in At the end of this year, I could still because they had done it last year.
I don't know, because
But,
they changed their.
Yeah, so they changed their policy. It was a state change. And it's becoming more and more popular because people don't want the bullying, they don't want that sort of thing.
Well, it's also
But
like
it
the
is
school.
online.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Like
they're
the
in front of the
school-
computer. No, go ahead.
No, like the school shootings, that's also scary. Like, I mean, that can happen at any school. So that was another thing that concerned us about her going to a school period, and so we wanted to homeschool. It's like, are they gonna pick up bad habits? You know, even with Montessori, I mean, it's public, right? Not for the first, not until first grade, right? And then it's public school.
Well, what do you mean?
It's charter school,
Public
right?
school.
It's-
This is,
It's, you pay if you're gonna put them in, like here,
yeah.
from first grade to 8th grade.
Mhm.
There's a school here in Corpus that they can go to for free, get on the list to get in. Preschool through kindergarten, you would have to pay somewhere to go, and there's no high school anywhere close to here that's Montessori.
Okay. And see, private school is, I mean,
Yeah, and, I mean, I know it never happened, but I'm sure, I mean, there's high schools and stuff, but, I mean, it's a regular school, but it's private, so they don't get state funding. That's
Okay.
only, I mean, they don't have the state funding, and then they're not regulated by the state, so they don't, I mean, we went back in Oregon, so we didn't have the STAR testing or anything, but they still did the standardized testing up there just to be part of.
Most of them have, the accreditation board that they have that looks over them has a standardized testing that they have to do.
Yeah, my husband went to private school, and I think he went here in Texas, and I think he took like California's state accreditation test.
Yeah.
I'm not really sure the reasoning behind that,
But what's nice about the private school is that it is faith-based, so, and, and they have them for all different religions, and, it was nice because, they weren't afraid, they weren't picked on if you said a prayer, they said prayers before they ate, and, they went to church once a week, and,
Yeah.
and so they learned about that, but they didn't push it, so, there was a lot of, non-faith, that went to the school too, and they weren't like, oh, you have to believe this, you have to believe this. They just taught them, it was a Catholic school, so they taught them about, Catholicism.
Right.
And, but they weren't like, you have to believe this is the only way to believe. So they were
It's
really
part of the curriculum.
respectful
Yeah.
about that. And it was nice. I mean, at first, it was always, you send the bad kids to the private school. But it really changed around, and it was nice. I really enjoyed it a lot.
Seems like at a private school you would get more parental involvement, really, than at the public school. The public school, there's parents that just, they don't care. They don't care, they're just sending their kid to school, whatever, but it seems like if you're investing $5,000-$6,000 a year, you might want to care a little more. And I know the private schools we've looked at, it's tuition and then you get a discount for volunteering an XYZ amount of hours. So, just like I said, it seems like a better caliber.
We were wired to volunteer. We
Yeah.
had so many where we had to actually come into the classroom. We had to help out with fundraisers. I mean, it was part of our contract that we signed in, so.
Was it, did you have to do things within like the school hours? Because what about working parents? I mean, did they work around that?
Well, they did, so like they had an annual auction every year to help raise money. So they sent stuff like cutouts to be cut out at home, and
So there are multiple ways
I
to
was
volunteer.
a full-time mom working 60 hours, 50, 60 hours, and so, I was able to like on my lunch breaks go and read to the kids after recess, or
that's nice.
I was able to, bring stuff home and I helped the teacher do cutouts or, whatever like little things she needed to do around there and stuff. So, and field trips, I got to go on all the field trips and stuff. And so it was, like I said, you got that intimate relationship, and it was good. And then it showed my kids that your mom cares.
And there was
she's
no
still
big
involved.
communication. There was no getting by or getting around or
No,
not knowing if somebody didn't turn their homework in.
exactly.
That's good. I think you told me that Montessori is like that, right? You have to be more involved than the normal school.
Or we didn't have a certain amount of time that we had to spend, but it's never a problem. The parents were just there.
They're exactly involved.
Yeah, and I don't know why. I don't know really, but when you really do look at it, like you said, in a traditional setting, parents usually are not very active.
If you're sending your child to a Montessori school, you've done your research, you know you're maybe a little bit more educated, and you're more invested in your child's future and your education. And you know, it's not the typical setting. It's not for everybody, but it's like you said, it sounds like an amazing program.
Well, it seems that each different type of school has its own little label. Like homeschooling, no offense to you, I always thought those kids are weird. Like I said earlier, you know, and it wouldn't be for me. I'm not bright enough to teach anything.
That was always my concern. It's like I barely scrape by in math and science. I don't want to inflict that on my child.
When I talk about Montessori, people go, oh, the building block school. Oh, you know, oh, the earthy school. Yeah, my daughter's electives were yoga and gardening. You know, but hey, she can use that later, you know.
Yeah, especially the garden.
And then private school, you get preppy, you know, all this stuck up preppy. Everything seems to be labeled.
But really, it should just be, you know, people should stop worrying about labels and start worrying about, okay, well, what is going to be best for my children? How are they going to learn the best way they can? And nothing against public schools, because there are some really great public schools. You know, I've known people that got to public schools and they've done, you know, they excelled in their, you know, education and stuff in college. But you just, I don't know, I guess you have to just teach your kids, you know, to,
You have to know your child. You have to know, you want to set your child up for success, and you know you want to do everything you can to make sure they're going to be a successful, productive adult.
Right. And I do feel bad for the public school, the teachers, because I mean they try their best, but they are so limited and they have so many students per class. That's got to be tough. Mm-hmm. And some parents, they don't see it as the children going to school to learn. They see it as, oh,
8 hours.
yeah,
Or daycare. Yeah.
Daycare, and you know it shouldn't be seen that way. Your child will only learn, you know, for a short period of time. So you have to just try to get them to absorb as much as they can. Like my daughter, she's been reading since before she turned 2. We did the baby can read stuff, and she's learning how to subtract just by, oh look, mommy has 4 flowers on the table. If I took away 1, there's 3 left, and they're orange flowers. You know, you just gotta. Yeah, see, and you know, so she knows to read and she knows all her shapes and stuff. So, you know, we took time with it, you know, but I find it now, like when I have the 2-year-old, it's hard to juggle teaching the older one when the little one's pulling at me. So I don't know how you do it.
I did them together. I did. Honest to God, my daughter was in preschool. My son really didn't want to go, and so I didn't force him to go. And I sat him down, and we started with the phonics with A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And my son was reading really fast, and actually my daughter was not, and she's older than he is by 2 years. And what we found out with her was she would go through and she would read each sound and each letter, and then she'd go back and read it with feeling. So she had to go through it twice, so it took her twice as long to get through anything. If she'd have been in a public school, she could have sat, she's a quiet one, she's not one of these that makes waves or trouble or anything like that. She could have sat back in that class and gotten through 4th or 5th grade, not really knowing how to read very well, because the way that people are taught how to read, I had to go back through and teach her another way along with that way so that she could read. And so, you know, it's not, I don't believe there was any learning disability, it's just the way that she learned.
Yeah.
And so what you were saying about with your child, she can already read, what a lot of parents find out is when they get to public school, get to kindergarten, and they're way too advanced. And so they're like, they don't know, they can't get.
They get bored.
They get bored. They're the ones who are teaching the other kids how to read and stuff like that, because the teacher just makes them the little aide.
Well, wow. I think it's amazing that you homeschool your children, and I love the Montessori way, and you know the private schooling sounds awesome. And I guess you and I are gonna have to figure out what we're gonna do with our kids.
I think I got 2 more years.
I want to thank y'all for joining us for Mom Talk. We're out of time, and we hope you enjoyed this episode. We'll see y'all next week.